We're here talking with Mychael and Jeff Danna about their music for the new Pixar film, The Good Dinosaur. The film's premise is that the dinosaurs didn't become extinct after all, and that they become a kind of agrarian society and actually interacted with primitive humans. This is a kind of a fascinating premise. What kind of music did you guys feel this film needed?
Well, our first creative meeting with Pete Sohn and Denise Ream, the producer, and with John Lasseter, they laid out what they were hoping from us for the score, which was very melodic and something that really spoke to the inner journey of Arlo and the character arc, the development of his character and the unfolding of his character, as well as honoring the landscape, this alternate universe landscape. So wanted it to be melody, 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 but also, and so that kind of means, especially given the scope, that you're talking about a big symphonic orchestral score, as you might expect. But then within that, give us something different. We want some colors that are unexpected, just like what you're seeing on the screen is not quite what you expect. Surprise us, give us colors, give us world colors, but don't be specific. We don't want to be in Ireland or Nigeria. We want to just feel like we're somewhere else. And you know, you've got to touch on the Western aspect. You've got to touch on the scale of things and the vista, but be, you know, create a new world for us.
Interesting. We do hear a lot of sort of, for want of a better term, sort of Americana kind of instruments. There's guitars and mandolins and fiddles. Can you talk about why that approach seemed right?
Well, there's a whole theme through the film about the homestead, Arlo's home, which we are introduced to at the beginning, and that basically the film is a journey on his way back to his home as a much older dinosaur. And so, you know, with the idea of trying to honor this beautiful landscape that they created, this magical ancient world, we wanted to try and be as earthy, I guess, as we could in many ways, which meant some very elemental choices for us. And so percussion made of stone and glass and untuned metal, and then some of the earthier folky instruments, which we identified as like a fiddle. I have a guitar collection with some unusual guitars in it, Jumbush and harpalek and saz, and these things are not quite normal guitars and stuff. And we just thought, let's feature those things and honor this great setting the film is in.
Can you talk a little bit about what you saw at the very beginning? Were you inspired by footage or storyboards, or was it much more simple at the beginning? And did you have to use your imagination?
What we were inspired by was Pete, the director. He was the inspiration, because what we were looking at was not particularly anything at that point. It was, and there was some finished pieces, like here's a frame of where we're headed to. It's like, oh, okay, here's now I see where we're headed. But what we were looking at, we're hearing the dialogue, of course. In animation, the dialogue is maybe the first thing you do, you know, to kind of form the arc of the film and the structure of the film. But we were looking at really, you know, pencil sketches that would be still for 10 seconds and then move on to the next one. So there wasn't anything particularly inspiring in the visuals. I mean, to see where it started and where it is now, which is, you know, one of the most stunning visual things I've ever seen, that journey is kind of jaw-dropping. But we had to obviously score for this film that we were not going to even see much of, because the way the schedule is, the scoring had to happen before all the visuals were completely rendered. So that's where you need a great director who's able to paint the picture visually and tell us emotionally what it's going to feel like, and where our music needs to kind of focus, and how this landscape is going to make you feel, even though what we're looking at looks like a 10-year-old's drawing.
How long did you work on the score, and did you have enough time that you could sort of create an entire sort of grand arc in terms of music and characterization?
Well, we started about a year ago and we just did some preliminary work. I think we worked for about a month or 6 weeks or something. We were just trying to get some themes, the cornerstones of some thematic foundations laid out. Just the overall sound, these concepts we're talking about of the orchestral meets the earthy meets the folky, and just making sure all that was working and making sure the filmmakers and ourselves were on board with these themes. And then they had to go away and do some more filmmaking, because what we were looking at the very beginning was really just chicken scratches, stick figures. And then we came back and, we had 6 really solid, full speed ahead months. And of course the picture wasn't done then either, but it was done enough for us to get into it. And we sort of started in some ways in the middle and worked out a little bit, just because the third reel was the one that was most complete. And so we sort of, in some ways, started there and kind of moved to the front and the back.
You mentioned themes. Are there themes that represent either characters or ideas that needed to be flexible and malleable and be able to be developed?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that really, as Jeff said, we worked on the film for a year, from our beginning, but we worked on it very intensely for a good solid 6 months. And much of that time, certainly the half of it, was spent really honing these themes and getting them right and figuring out what they needed to be and where they needed to go, because it's a story, it's such a simple story, but it's based on, the story is based on the development of a character, of a fearful young person who is afraid of the world, forced through circumstances to face his fears. Nature is a huge character in the film, challenges him, and he overcomes his fears through the friendship with his buddy Spot. He overcomes it and becomes and matures. So that character arc, you have to have a theme for Arlo that is innocent and fearful and very much inward looking, and come to a point where there's courage and we've kind of unfolded his character, and it's something that the theme has to track. So Arlo has a theme, Spot has a theme, which was quite difficult to find. He doesn't speak in the film. He's a boy, but he's a critter. He's rather wild, but he's also, kind of loving and affectionate and loyal. So we had to find something that hit all that. Make Your Mark has a theme, the idea of Arlo. His father challenges him. This is what you need to do to make your mark. You need to overcome your fear. And so that's an important, solid theme that comes through. So those were the things that were, and so on and so on. But that's what the early discussion with the creative team was about. What are these themes? What are they going to track? And let's figure out what the notes are of those themes. And they had to really be right. And it's fascinating writing themes. I mean, that's where the magic is, that we've been doing this so long and we have no real idea how it works. But you just know, you hear, that one is great. It's a great melody, but it's just not Arlo. This one is Arlo. Why? Don't really know. But it's something that everyone knows when it's right. And that's the thing that really was kind of the lion's share. And once you have the themes and once they're right, I mean, it kind of writes itself from there on. It really does.
This is the first time Pixar has employed a team of composers, and in this case it happens to be 2 brothers. How do you guys work? Did you have separate studios? Did you exchange themes? How did the collaboration work?
Well, pragmatically, we do have separate studios, and our work process is just, you go in and you go to work, and we're in separate rooms, but we have similar software, and we can send each other files or just MP3s or ideas or back and forth very quickly, and just look at them almost like we're sitting in the same room. And that we've been doing that a long time, and that's pretty easy to do the way technology is now. From a more conceptual manner of how we work together, I mean, it's just something that we don't think about very much until someone asks us, how do you work together? Because we've been doing it for a really long time, since we were kids. So it's just, we try and put the work up here and make it first, and put any sort of egos or hesitancy or resistance or anything aside, and just say, let's do what's good for the film. And really, you're just trying to get it right and trying to make yourselves and everyone else happy. So if I send something to Mike and he says, the first half's good, but I think it's not working after that. I think we should try something else. I might go, gee, that's weird. I really thought that was great, but okay, let's just get on it. Like, you can't really slow down or stop, and it just makes it better with the two of us having, a similar kind of approach to how we think about aesthetics, really, I think, from growing up together. To have that someone that you trust and respect, and doing the other half of your perspective on it, and it's helpful. It makes it better.
I find that what's interesting is one of us often will feel really strongly. It's rare. I mean, that's when the fights happen, I guess, when we both feel passionate about something. But pretty often, if Jeff would go, no, man, that second half it's really not working. It's got to be like. Then I accept it when and I think it goes the other way too. Where it's like, oh yeah, the saz has got to be louder here. Like, I know it. Like, that's what I know. And I think when you kind of trust the other guy when he feels really strongly about it, that's the right thing. And yeah, and then the things where we each have strong positions, then you know that the work's not done. That it's got to be a place where we're both happy. So. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating process, I think. But I really love the process of collaborating like this. I mean, there's just no doubt that it's better music at the end of the day.
We know that there's a big orchestra involved here, but because we hear so many individual instruments, I'm sort of curious to know which ones you guys actually played. And did you record a lot of the solo instruments, like the fiddles and the guitars and the piano, in your own studios?
No, not well. There was a few rough things that we recorded. Mike's a keyboard guy. He plays pianos, and in this he played, like an upright, out-of-tune church piano, grandma's front porch piano, also a grand piano, and even a toy piano that we were using for a great kind of chimey texture. And I play all this sort of string stuff, the sazes and the bouzouki and the things we've been talking about. So often when we're working, we might record those things in our mock-ups just to show them. There's a lot of stuff I might do with, the mandolin or something that can't really be synthesized. You just have to do it. So we'll often do those things in mock-up form. But in this particular project, when it came time to actually record it, we just did it all again because we knew we wanted a very high level of sonic, as close to perfection as we could to honor this great visual that we've been given. So there was that first 10 days or so at Warner Brothers where it was just, I had 2 days of my stuff, and we just had people coming in, and we did a lot of the individual instruments separately. Then we had the fiddle come in, we had the tuvan throat singer guy, he came in then. We had days of percussion, unusual mallet percussion, pitch percussion, unpitched percussion. Mike was playing piano on a number of those days here and there. I think we had an accordion in. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. But we did all that stuff before the orchestra and had it sort of set and ready to go when the band came in.
One of the things that's a great canvas, it seems to me, for a composer is that there's almost no dialogue in this film. Does that heighten the pressure? Because your music is, your music is really going to be front and center most of the time?
Yeah, there's no question that music is a big part of the storytelling tool in this film. I mean, it certainly adds to the pressure, but the reward is huge, and it's a stage that every composer craves. I mean, to be able to guide the audience towards through the arc of the story. It's a wonderful kind of opportunity for us to be able to do. And yeah, this film, as you've said, it's got many fewer lines of dialogue than most other films, and it's in the tradition of a film like Black Stallion or Bambi, films like that lean heavily on the atmosphere, the ambience, the environment, and sound design and music. Those are the things that are really important in the telling of this story. So yeah, it's a challenge, but we loved it. I mean, the first time we saw the last reel, you know, the climax of the film where Arlo, you know, has come to the point of maturity and self-confidence that he can give up his friend to a future that he knows is the right one for him. That whole sequence, there's no dialogue there whatsoever. And yeah, the first time we saw that reel and saw this entire kind of climax of the film, the last 20 minutes, there's maybe one line of dialogue, maybe.
Yeah.
And we realized, okay, this is us.
Set the alarm and
Set the alarm 10 minutes earlier every day for the next 6 months. Yeah.
Talk about the collaboration with the filmmakers. Would they visit your studios? Would you share music with them to sort of preview it for them? How did that work?
Yeah, we would. It was kind of, we got into this rhythm. It was kind of a weekly flight up to Oakland, up to Pixar, which is Northern California, and here we're right near the Burbank airport, so it's a very quick, easy, stressless flight. And took it every week. Left early in the morning. Was sitting down with the guys like at 9:30 or 10 in the morning. Met till 1 or something. Went through all that week's sketches and took notes and looked at new footage and hung out and had fun, and then flew back and back to work by 6 o'clock or something. So it's a pretty efficient method. I don't think we very often, if ever, sometimes on films you send stuff. I think it was all kind of hand delivered, very very old fashioned. Yeah, it was all face to face, and they have a beautiful little theater up there that you can kind of audition stuff on. And so I'd arrive a few minutes early, would kind of set up the mix. I mean, it's got surround speakers and everything, so it's kind of a luxury. We were able to really give it a proper audition in a really nice environment with a good screen and cinema seating. So it's kind of the ideal for mock-ups. Of course, mock-ups being synthesized for an orchestra score, it's not the nicest, most enjoyable sound to listen to, and that's something that especially first-time filmmakers like Pete, and he caught on pretty quickly, understood that, oh yeah, okay, it's like our process. We start with these chicken scratches and we end up with, where they ended up. So they understand that kind of process, but it was still was a bit of something that needed some getting used to. So it was something that was best done and very effectively done in person.
Some filmmakers are afraid of music and what music will do to their vision. Did you find that the Pixar folks were supportive in terms of what music could accomplish in a film?
Oh, absolutely. They unapologetically want to put it forward. There was a meeting right at the beginning of the process with Lasseter, and we talked about themes, and we want themes in our films, and why is film music different than it was 20 years ago? And why is the emphasis off of themes and this more textual writing? And we talked about various reasons for that. And he said, well, that's not what we do here. We make beautiful melodies, and that's what we have to have. And we're going to play it forward anyways. I mean, a Pixar movie heavily relies on that anyways. And I think any film, like any Pixar film would, and this film in particular, because of, as Mike was saying, the space, the sonic room, with the lack of dialogue and the emphasis on the natural world and quietude and solitude, it was going to be a featured thing. So no, they were like, you get it right, and we are going to feature it.
Do either of you guys have kids? And if so, did that in any way affect how you saw the film or what you thought the film might need musically?
Yeah, I've spent most of my career doing films that are probably too dark for even adults to watch. So I've got two kids, a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. And my 5-year-old's favorite stuffed animal from before this was a little dinosaur. He's crazy about dinosaurs. So this was amazing timing in my life. He sat on my lap while I was writing it, and so yeah, it was really amazing to see him connect to the film, and it did actually help me. I would watch it with him, and then watch his face as he was watching the film, and it was very kind of instructive to see how kids respond to this material. And it was not only educational and helpful in the writing, but yeah, it's tremendously rewarding for me to take my kids to a premiere and show them this movie that really speaks to them. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for that.
Jeff?
Yeah, my kids are a little bit older. The youngest one's 12, so they probably would have been more interested in the teenage dinosaur girls at this point. But I thought for me, one of the instructive things in a family sense was just being a parent. Your whole worldview changes when you're a parent. And I found myself looking at relationships on screen in movies since I had kids differently. And in this movie particularly, I mean, there's obviously a strong son-father thing at the beginning of the film. And then there's all these moments where these two orphans are out in the woods attempting to parent each other in various ways. And that was instructive to me. This kind of selfless love that parents have to have, I could feel that in these characters. And that was sort of one of the ways into it for me.
And in terms of summarizing the experience, was this unlike anything you guys have ever done before?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it before or probably after. Just working with animation guys, it is really different than live action guys. They're nerdy artists like we are. They're guys who grew up sitting in the corner drawing, just like we sat in the corner, and Jeff playing his guitar and me playing my piano. And so we're on the same wavelength, and they understand process. They understand how you go from a concept and a sketch, and you end up with the final product. So it's really it's fun collaborating with animation guys. It really is a joy, and the Pixar people are incredible. I mean, they're just everything about them, the way their office is set up, the building, the Pixar University as it is, the campus up in Northern California. It's an incredible place, and it's just, you can feel the creativity just oozing out of the walls in that place. It's really an amazing bunch of people and an amazing company, and to be associated with it and be able to work with them and see it close up, yeah, it was just unforgettable and wonderful experience.
Also, Mychael, you scored the short subject that precedes the feature film in theaters. Can you talk a little bit about how different that music was and what the nature of that project was?
Yeah, that Sanjay's Super Team, which is kind of a somewhat biographical piece by Sanjay Patel, who's a wonderful illustrator, and another example of the Pixar community and their culture is that the building, which Steve Jobs, I believe, had something to do with the design of, has this huge atrium, so everyone works kind of separately, but when you want to have a coffee, you want to have lunch, you want to go to the bathroom, everybody has to kind of come to this big central hall, and you end up bumping into people, the idea being that you kind of nudge people to have conversations and have artistic interactions. So fact is, I was up there one day to meet Pete, and happened to meet this guy Sanjay, who we happened to started talking about, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm an illustrator. I've done these some of these Indian kids books." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got some of those." And I went, "Oh, I'm reading the Ramayana. Like I have it in my bag here. I was reading it on the plane." It's, "Oh, that's weird. Like that's awesome." So anyway, bye. And then I was up there a couple of weeks later, bumped into him again, and then maybe the 2 weeks after that, he kind of called me and went, "Hey man, I'm doing a short film. You want to score it?" Like it wasn't planned. That's how it happens up at Pixar. It's just that wonderful kind of particles, atomic particles bouncing around and then combining. So I think it's a beautiful film, and his style is just so interesting and original, and I think, and I love the fact that both these films have a message that is just so helpful for the time that we live in, and how you face evil, and how you face darkness, and how you overcome it. It's just in a very unusual way that you meet the darkness. And I think it makes the world a better place to make films like this. So I'm really proud to be associated with them.
What are you two on to next?
Sleep. Holidays.
Errands. Errand jar.
Errand jar from months and months of not being at home, and nothing till next year, I hope.
Great. Well, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.